Bad asking. I see lots of couples trapped in a bad type of asking. We haven't been intimate as much. I thought you still loved me. This rhetorical asking is a really bad pattern we're going to explore. In this first example here, what the person is really asking for is assurance indirectly. They're probably not even aware that that's their underlying thing that they're trying for in that. And way too much is assumed from the start. There's not enough listening even in the asking. Like, quote, I noticed the other day when you said you would, fill in the blank with the observation, I thought keeping your word was important to you. Whoa, triggers, rhetorical attack. Like, like observation into a rhetorical question is always a fight. Now, because nobody is really going to be like, no, keeping my word's not important to me. Of course not. That's a rhetorical question. It's a fighting word. It's a weapon. And yeah, there isn't any listening in rhetorical questions. They're always fights, you know. So yeah, there's a lot of asking where communication doesn't even take place at all. Because demanding a response is not the same as listening. I always recognize non-listening demands like a mile away because they always have simple yes or no answers that they want kind of funneled into. Because the thing is, real listening involves real conversation, not just getting an acknowledgement response that your concern is heard or met. When people create these types of rhetorical questions and trap asks, the thing that's happening is they're creating a conversational funnel. There's only one direction that things can really go in because they want a certain response out of things. They have perhaps an unneed met that they may not even be voicing, such as, hey, I need things to change. I need security. I need to know that I'm important with things. Whatever the thing is, there's that unneed met, and that's trying to funnel things and force things into going into that direction to get that need met, subconsciously or unconsciously. And that's not a conversation. That's just a funnel. It's a hijack of the direction of the conversation into another funnel because the other party cannot even talk about what is going on with them. They can't bring other things into play. That's outside of this I need demandness, in demanding answers. They have they have very little choice in the matter, and many of their choices are bad choices that result in a fight. They could respond with a question as well, feeling defensive. They could respond with mirroring, trying to get the empathy and trying to get the connection that they're seeking to create that safe space for conversation. They could respond rhetorically back to them, is that how you think people are, or whatever. And none of these things are conversation. These things are just war. Real conversation involves open questions that don't funnel responses. That is what real talk is. Open questions like, what do you think? Like, what is meaningful to you and why? These are great unloaded starting points to wander into listening. Because the best follow-up question is to listen. And not make like statements with your questions or prefacing your question. For example, I noticed you didn't call. What happened? That's a conversational lie because you don't really care. You know, you aren't really asking, why. You're just kind of not communicating how you felt or what your experience was or your concerns, because you're not like, you're late, like what happened? You're not really curious as to like why the lateness or this or that, because if there is an explanation that's given, it doesn't really matter, because what matters is that you were hurt in that lateness. What matters is that you had this need that was unmet there, and that you want a change, and you want to talk about how can a better pattern or change take place, and yeah, and it can only take place when there is that open listening, because unless that safe space is created, conversation will not take place. There will only be walls. There will only be defenses. And there will only be pain for both parties on a failure to connect and empathize and communicate and understand even what's going on in themselves, let alone with another. It's not the people's fault either. A lot of people have learned these trap behaviors from others and are not conscious of these processes. But it's important to bring awareness to this. It's so important that I highly encourage you to share this with somebody who's on a growth path that's ready for this type of message. And I would love to read what your guys' thoughts and comments are, because I know that there is going to be a lot of comments. For example, when people have concerns, it's not that you shouldn't, be concerned for what your concerns are. I'm using this more of recognize when you're doing this out of things. And we'll probably see a lot of triggers, even some defensiveness in the comments too. As much as possible, use this tool there as well. Try to be open-ended in the questions, not, being rhetorical in that, pointing out different areas where some of these, traps take place. And yeah, I really look forward to seeing how people respond and what kind of thoughts come from this. And I really appreciate that you're here with me now to hear this and to listen in this way. Thank you.